very pleased now to announce our next panel, and we heard already compliance is a big topic. How to issue a compliant STO in Switzerland and Liechtenstein is the title of our next panel, and it's my pleasure to announce the moderator of this panel. He is in charge of the Tokengate platform, and he's also the co-author of the book Live from Crypto Valley, and advises companies and startups in the blockchain space. And he shared with me that his most memorable moment was when his son was taking his first steps in an RV in New England during traveling with his family. Welcome to the stage, Christian Di Giorgio, product manager at Tokengate. Hi, Christian.
Thank you, Rob.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, I'll leave the stage to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me welcome the panelists of today. So we have Ekaterina Anthony of GWP, leading a law firm in the space. Take a seat. No, you go. Yeah, take the big one. Yeah. So then we have Guenther Dobrauz. He probably doesn't need introduction. Leading expert in this area from PwC, and then we have Roman, very much talked about already, the CFO of the Tezos Foundation. So I'll take a seat. So let's quickly start. Maybe just quickly introduce yourself. Let's start with the ladies first. So who are you, what you do, and why are you here, basically?
So my name is Ekaterina Anthony. It can be easier to say Katya. And I'm representing GWP. We are a traditional and crypto compliance company. I lead the DLT team, where we focus on startups and traditional business, trying to bring in line with the regulatory standards the operations in business. And previously, I was involved a lot with fintech startups in Crypto Valley, and in my portfolio, managing of the Russian stock exchange in London and managing commodity platform Platts S&P in Eastern Europe.
Okay. Thank you very much. Guenther, please.
Thank you. Very happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I'm a partner at PwC in Zurich, and I'm leading PwC Legal in Switzerland, which is the legal arm of PwC. I'm also a member of the global legal leadership team at PwC, where I'm globally responsible for everything financial services. Prior to that, I was a venture capitalist, setting up the first VC fund probably in Switzerland, and doing that for a couple of years. And it's still my passion. Obviously, with the role at PwC, I can only do that to some limited extent, but working around the fascinating blockchain and crypto space kind of allows me to bring those two passions together, and that's what I've been doing for the past 4 or 5 years now with my team.
Very good, thank you. So last but not least, Roman.
And I have to be careful not to say that I'm from PwC too. After nearly 14 years at PwC, and been working quite a few times together actually. Started at when I think also 4 or 5 years ago when we started at PwC, thinking about how the ICO hype kind of being an auditor kind of will result in audit needs as well, and we kind of started to build up an audit practice, and we kind of had to deal with similar questions at that time that some of the entrepreneurs today have when they think about organizations or tech, because we kind of were there with this new word, and we said, okay, what kind of tech do we need at PwC in order to do audits, and where could we get that information from? And one of my clients at that time was the Tezos Foundation, so that was the first touch point we had at that point. I knew Ryan Jesperson very well, they were looking for a finance person, and so
Good.
I was tempted to leave the boat.
So we have 2 lawyers and a finance guy. Let's see how it goes. So let's get into that. Let's get into the topic. And I would like to start with you, Ekaterina. Can you give? So there's been a lot of talk already about the compliance and doing this and do it right and not try to take shortcuts. Can you please give a short overview? What is the compliance? What is it that we are talking about? What are the key elements that consist this?
Well, I think that it's a good news that we're in Switzerland, and I already just repeat previous speakers that we have a very open regulator and friendly environment. We have a lot of good papers already produced by associations and by Swiss Bank Association and by regulators as well, where we can always get to regulator and talk to regulator here. And I agree that in UK it will be much less possible. or I don't really know well German regulator, but I believe they're also good. But Liechtenstein is also very well open. At the same time, you have to be very careful, and I will repeat that: do everything right from the beginning. Because if you start your operations without right license, especially with tokenized business, you will have troubles. So before you ever accept any funds to your accounts, make sure that you comply with the regulation. You know which actually license you have to obtain. And it's also about clients. When you're onboarding investors, you have to identify what type of clients you will have. You need to write policies which will reflect this. We're talking about institutional investors or about professionals or retail market. What type of the onboarding instruments you will use? Will it be video identification? And we had cases where the client believed he did the onboarding using online identification. When we start look through the files, it was nothing to do with online identification. You have to make sure you understand it. So actually, don't do it yourself. Try to onboard proper company, intermediate who is in this field, who understand how to do it, save your time, save your money. And I would also recommend to get opinion from FINMA, because sometimes you even have two legal opinions from two different companies, what actual type of tokens you launching. Then go to FINMA directly and get this opinion. You will need it later, for sure, if you go to bank, and your investor will request it as well.
Yeah, we'll touch on that later. So basically what you're saying is, okay, get the right license, so the compliance with the license, so the kind of product you're issuing, and also the investor onboarding, we've heard, is a very important topic, which ties into the next speech that we're going to have afterwards. So the proper identification of the investors, and I guess there is also this money laundering, so AML
Absolutely.
proofs and verification of the funds. So thank you. So Guenther, can you quickly make a short state of the union assessment? So we're now talking about STOs. We've been also hearing before there was this wave of ICOs. So where do we come from, and where are we going?
Sure. I mean, one of the things we've been doing for a while now is the ICO and the STO report, which PwC is doing together with our friends from CVVC. And that has all the data, right? You can find it there, and I think the picture is very clear. We've had this huge wave of ICOs, in particular all the way up to 2017. Now that's gone, and the STOs, yes, they're picking up, they're happening, but they're clearly not on the level that we've seen in the ICO context, and I think that's a good thing. Right? I always say STOs are ICOs for grown-ups, and it's, I believe, the right way of doing things. Because a lot of people, and we've had some cases mentioned before, they will wake up at some point in time from a knock on their door, and that's when the executioner will be there. Because remember, it's all on the blockchain, right? So trust me, they will go back in time and figure out what has happened there. So the STO is doing it the right way. But as also been said by the previous speaker, obviously it's not the same thing. With ICOs, it was like, kind of back in 1998 when I started out in the tech world, when people were like, okay, I have an idea and I can hash up a document, so I go and fundraise for .com. ICOs was like the same thing. We just slapped the words crypto or blockchain or whatever in there, and then we copy-paste together a paper, and there we go. That's gone. So today when I'm seeing people who come to me, I always tell them, so you don't have a line of code, you don't have a team, you don't have client, and you don't have a real-world application, well, get a job, right? Don't think about ICO or STO. So yes, the level of the entrance barrier is a lot higher, hence the numbers are lower, but those who do it right, I believe, have a strong avenue still, and it's picking up, and we're clearly seeing that in the numbers.
And that is, you think, sort of the trend that we are going into, and it's here to stay,
It's
right?
growing up, it's here to stay, and will just expand.
Okay. Yeah, good. So, Roman, you represent the Tezos, is a large public blockchain. You still have an open question that you might want to answer at some point. We'll see. But within this context, within the concept of compliance and issuing financial products, do it right from the beginning with the proper papers in place, the paperwork. So, what can a platform such as yours provide or do to facilitate this process?
I mean, I think as both speakers have already said, I mean, I like the ICO for grown-ups. we're in a regulated environment, right? And as to whether we call it STOs or equity or bonds, at the end of the day, there is a regulation that applies, and who would know best how this regulation works than people that have been in that sector before? So one of the big advantages that we've seen with platform providers is that they've been specialized also on a regulatory, from a regulatory perspective in their area. So, I mean, an example is we have a project in the UK. We've heard that before. We do have a platform we work together in the UK, which is called GlobalCap. And why do we work with them? Well, yes, they can do AML KYC onboarding. They can do cap table management. But most importantly, they understand how the FCA market works, and they understand how the FCA sandbox actually works, and they understand how the regulator thinks about the things. And so what we'd love to do is to do use cases and then kind of take a break, look back and say, okay, what was possible, regulatory-wise, legal-wise, technology-wise? What was not yet possible and why, and where could we change it? And for that, you need to have informed discussions with the experts. And you can do that in the UK, we can do that in France with EquiSafe, for example, where we have another project, or we can do it in Germany with the Fundament guys. And the aim of these use cases is always the same, to have this honest reflection. Where is the benefit? Because eventually we're looking for that benefit, because otherwise, why would you do it?
Right. So let's address a little bit. So all this sounds like, spending time and money, complying to these, to these requirements, regulatory requirements, legal requirements, even the technology. So, Guenther, quickly, how do you think? How can we keep an eye on the costs and so still make things right from the beginning, and keep an eye on the costs?
Well, first of all, you have to expect cost. That's the cost of doing business, right? And people just don't like it in this context because it goes to the lawyers, and nobody likes lawyers. But that's just the way it is. But last week you don't see it, but I was at my hairdresser in Zurich and had a discussion with him. And I said, look, how much did it cost you to start up that barbershop in Zurich? And he said 180,000 Swiss francs, right? That's just the reality, right? Because you need to pay down a couple of months' rent and all the equipment and the advertisement and da-da-da-da-da. So when I don't have people moaning and complaining about 100K or whatever cost for doing a compliant STO where they want to raise millions, then I have a question mark, right? If you really don't have the 100,000 and are not willing to put it up, then you just shouldn't be in the game. That's my honest opinion. That's the cost of doing business, right? I mean, let's just face it. Now, the good news is that the first people with ventured there, they have kind of broken the ice, and there is more and more solutions coming up. And you said that the first prospectus that was done, obviously, that was a huge exercise. I think it was 87 pages we had to do, right? And obviously, this was the first time of doing that, so somebody had to fork it up. Now, all of that is being digitized, all of that is being automated, all of that is being commoditized. The more and more people do it, like with everything, right? I remember when I did the first master feeder fund, that was like rocket science. Today, you get it for 30K off the shelf. Same is true for other things. So things are becoming commoditized, standardized, AML, KYC procedures. Obviously, then the advantage is going a little bit away. You don't have this unique situation, but don't be worried about that. But don't fight it. There's non-compliance is not an issue, an option. There's just two ways of doing it: the right way and the wrong way. And it's part of that game. Just embrace it, right? Yeah.
So embrace costs and spend the money wisely on
well,
the right,
I'm
things,
paying
right?
for my garage right now for being here. I had to pay to get here. Yeah. I mean, there's no free lunch in this life. Get over it.
Okay, so that's a statement. So, Ekaterina, you've mentioned the cooperation with the regulatory bodies, and everybody, at least in Switzerland, but also in Liechtenstein, talking about this, paper, FINMA, no action letter, or FMA statement. So, what is your opinion or input on this?
If you issue the security tokens, you are not required to go to FINMA and ask for opinion, but we will, to be on the safe side, if you trust your lawyers, you can continue with your business. If you still feel you better to get opinion, just go. It can be not so long, they become more, productive, and it costs you money. They will charge you probably between 10 to 500 francs per hour, but it's worth it. Don't save your money on this because, as I said, this is a key document, because each investor can come to you and ask what you're really producing, what is your function of your tokens. And then also about license, that later you not regret about it, because it will cost you much more money to improve it later if FINMA will agree to do it, if you do something not right.
Right. Thank you very much. So time is running out. Roman, 3 words or 3 sentences, what is the takeaway for the audience from your perspective out of this short discussion? Well, should I write it down now? Huh?
3 words.
All 3 sentences, but quick.
Well, the longer I wait, the more stress these guys have, right? So my answer might be... No, I mean, look, as we discussed, these are initial use cases that aim to create something that is more efficient and superb to what we currently have. And we're going to have to do the work, right? Otherwise, we're not getting there. And we will get there, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you. Ekaterina?
Focus on your main business. Don't spend your time with what you don't understand. Outsource IML compliance things from the beginning and just go to your target. Do what you really need to do in your business.
Thank you very much. Guenther?
Let's just remember why we all are really here. We live in the age of exponential technologies, which is just amazing. It's a privilege to be part of this generation. The things that are being built right now, it's just amazing. So get over the little hassles here and there. That's not the point. It's a privilege to live today, and let's build a better future, and a better future is decentralized.
Thank you very much. And on these words, applause.
It was a privilege, and thank you. Hey.